Hello, and welcome to the Emotional Endurance Movement, the only conversation that's happening routinely about life's lemons and how we cope with them. I'm Laurie Sharp-Page, and I'm here with my co-host, Crimson MacDonald. Hi, how are ya?
I'm good. How are you today?
Stretched too thin. I am overscheduled. I am living this summer schedule of trying to get as much fun, as much joys, as much memories for as little dinero as possible. And I gotta tell you, like, I am having fun, but there's certainly a cost to it, you know? It's
Absolutely.
dinero.
No, I mean, oh God, let's not talk about the financial expense. But I mean, I had a friend in high school and she did this through college. Like, she put so much pressure on summer. We were like
Yeah.
starting our professional careers, and she'd be like, summer's coming up, and my boyfriend broke up with me, and now I'm gonna have a bad summer. I'm like, summer's like not a thing except if you're in school. So to me, like, I never really thought of seasons like that because I hate summer. And when you work and you don't have kids, it's just another day. So I never really thought about summer that way, but she really like hung on to it. But then something happened. I had kids, and summer became like this high pressure. You have 10 to 12 weeks to make it freaking magical. Like every day has to be perfect and magical. Yet I'm still the adult that just has to work. And so I have struggled immensely with the necessity of multitasking in the summer because even though I'm not a huge fan of routine, it's necessary to existence sometimes.
Absolutely. Our routines help our mental health a lot more than I think those of us who are resistant to routines like to think. And I myself count myself as one, but a routine is really important to our mental health. And that is definitely a piece of this, right? We're all suddenly out of routine for 12 weeks. We do things so differently. And even though I think parents really feel this, I do think most people head into summer, whether you have kids or not, with like this expectation, like, it's summer. I should be having fun. I should be living my best life. I should be doing all the things and seeing all the people and be the hottest I've ever been, and also maintain this level of productivity I expect for myself from the rest of the year just to exist. And it is exhausting. But the other part that's happening is like during summer, we're task switching more. So one of the things I've been really intentional doing with summer is like I work for a little bit in the morning, and then I take my kids out for a couple hours, and then I come back and I work a little bit more. And the truth is, it's working, but my productivity to reset after I get back for the afternoon session, or even to kind of pack work up so that I can go and be present with my kids, costs me energy.
It costs time, right? Because there is an inefficiency, and then you get frustrated. Like you get into
Yeah.
something and you can't just like finish it. And for me, I'm at the age where kids just interrupt constantly because they're old enough to be independent. And so, like,
Yeah.
nobody's really managing them. But like, I'm trying to work, and they're like, oh, I made ramen noodle without water. You can imagine how that turned out. So like it's just constant interruptions and breaks in workflows. And I think for me, it's just been kind of like accepting it instead of resisting it and getting frustrated about it. And I think what you've done is really good too, is like partitioning your time so the family knows where the boundaries are. So that way they're collaborating with you to ensure you're kind of getting some structure in your workday and meeting
Absolutely.
your desires to be around them.
Absolutely. Yeah. So the research does show us that like we can actually, when we're switching tasks, we can actually spend about 40% more time being unproductive because the brain has to reorient to that type of work. I remember this
Mhm.
at my first clinical job. I had been a therapist for about a year, and they introduced something called collaborative documentation. Like everyone was raging about collaborative documentation as like the thing that was going to save us as therapists. And basically, what it meant is instead of waiting until after the session to write your note, you write the note collaborative with your
Right.
client so that you can bill for that time, is really what it comes down to. And
Oh,
I can't get my
smart.
brain to work like that. Yeah, but I can't get my brain to work like that. To actually do a note is a different part of my brain than working with a client. And it seems like on paper it should work really, really well. But having been both the clinician who was asked to do this and then supervising other clinicians, I can tell you that this is almost a universal problem that therapists and a lot of healthcare providers struggle because that shift between providing the service, the healthcare treatment, and then documenting that are two totally different parts of the brain.
Right.
And so ultimately, I got to a point where I was like, it's not realistic for me to expect myself to do this, even though the agency really wanted me to. All the things were there, it just didn't work for me. And so I reflect on this a lot. Like, I've been reflecting on that experience a lot as I headed into the summer, as far as like, I do have the privilege at this point in time to really create my schedule for the most part. What do I know about myself? I know that I need blocks and different levels of focus on those blocks in order to stay
Hmm.
productive. Otherwise, I really can get lost in that task switching kind of buffering place.
No, I mean, it's a lot to juggle so many roles. And then in
Yeah.
summer, it's a lot when we add this pressure to make it special. And it's not just parents. I know everyone
Yeah.
tries to make summer special. It's your time to travel, and there's concerts and festivals. I mean, your community just kind of comes to life, and there's all kinds of fun things to do. And so,
Absolutely. And you
yeah,
should be going and doing those things, but you need to be regulated in order to enjoy them. So if you're dysregulated, just checking things off the boxes, you're not really accomplishing your goal. And that's the part that I really want people to pay attention to is like, don't just accept that this is the feeling of summer to be overwhelmed and totally drained out because you're trying to shift things around. Take some agency here and reset and cope with these things intentionally. And I have a great fun skill for this one that I'd love to share with people. This one actually comes from my days of working with elementary schoolers, but I love it so much. If you are finding you are in a moment where you just cannot, right? You just cannot, go find yourself a private place or do it in public. I don't care. But probably you want to do this in private. And I want you to take a moment and just intentionally think that you are uncooked spaghetti. As firm as the uncooked spaghetti would be, just let yourself be that stiff piece of spaghetti. And on the count of three, I want you to magically turn into cooked spaghetti. So 3, 2, 1, release all those muscles and let it out. And
aw,
honestly, it sounds so silly, but do 3 solid ones of those and really let your body respond. Pull the tension in when you're uncooked and then let it out when you become cooked spaghetti. And it sounds silly, but what it does is it helps to basically reorient your brain away from whatever you were thinking about and primes it to be focused on what you want it to think about now.
yeah. I mean, would you say that's also like even just like any kind of stretching, anything like that that's going to anchor you in the chaos?
Anything somatic, so like body based or grounding, where you're using your senses and your body into this one, because it's really your brain that's struggling, right? So if you just tell your brain to focus, that's not going to help to unlock that.
Right.
But really resetting in your body helps your brain to reset. So, yes, anything body based would be the suggestion of where we start.
Awesome. You got to protect your attention like you protect your energy. I mean, at the end of the
Yeah,
day, like where you put your attention matters. And I think it's just part of, especially in modern world, right? Like with our phones. And it is a skill that younger generations are going to be better at, the multitasking, the constant distractions. But for us older people, it's still part of like the transition, right? Like of getting used to the pings and it's just constant. And so you add on heat, you add on the pressure of wanting everything to be fun and magical, you add on the pressure of wanting to get to not the pool by a certain time. Yeah, just all of these things, and it gets overwhelming, and it really does. And I think people just glamorize summer so much. I'm glad that we're having a discussion of like the reality of a middle class summer, which is where we're juggling it all and trying to make it magical, and it's sometimes a lot harder and a lot more emotionally depleting than we want to give it credit. So
for
to
sure.
everyone
For
out
sure.
there that is staying regulated and is juggling their jobs and kids or parents or vacations, whatever it is, even if it's a bunch of really privileged things, it's still a lot. Like it's still a lot of pressure and a lot of competing distractors. So
Yeah.
stay focused. It's hard. You'll get through it. Stay focused.
You will. You will. And before you wonder if you're cooked, just remember Try some of that uncooked to cook spaghetti. It could help a lot.
Yeah,
Okay.
very true. All right.
Well, thank you
Well,
so much for joining us on this episode of the Emotional Endurance Movement. It has been really great to acknowledge the fact that summer is something that we got to cope with.
sure is.
Make sure to like and subscribe and stay tuned for next week's episode. Again, a reminder, this whole month we're talking about how to cope with summer leading up to our webinar, Coping with Summer. So make sure to stay tuned. Bye.
Peace out.